In this video, we'll craft this beautiful church stained glass art of the symbol of St. Matthew, revealing our most coveted secrets along the way. But it's not as simple as it looks. One mistake and we could lose the entire window, costing us over 100 hours. So why are we even making this window? Well, because the church's balcony has 4 windows that were basically begging for new stained glass windows. The pastor chose the 4 evangelists and we thought it was a fantastic idea. I think you are going to love the final result. But first, what does a winged man have to do with St. Matthew anyway? Before we start putting pencil on paper, let's explore the significance of the winged man in Christian iconography. The winged man is one of 4 living creatures described in the book of Revelation, often symbolizing St. Matthew, the evangelist. Basically, it's the ultimate winged man in the church world. Sorry, I couldn't resist, but seriously, this symbol represents the human aspect of Christ, his incarnation, and his connection to humanity. The winged man is often associated with St. Matthew because his gospel focuses on Christ's human lineage, portraying him as a descendant of David and Abraham. That's some symbolism background, but let's get back to the stained glass. Architectural compatibility is a critical consideration, but how do we ensure the design doesn't clash with the church's architecture? The new stained glass window should harmonize with your church's existing architectural style, whether it features Gothic arches, Romanesque curves, or modern lines. By ensuring that the design complements the church's structure, the window becomes a natural extension of the building's aesthetic, rather than it clashing with the space. One of the challenges during the design stage is balancing the artist's creative vision with the need to stay true to religious symbolism. The artist must create a design that is both visually compelling and theologically sound. This balance is crucial, especially when integrating symbols like the winged man, which carries deep spiritual meaning. Once the design passes a round of approvals with the diocese bishop, we are ready to roll. And yes, bishops can be surprisingly picky about their stained glass, kind of like Gordon Ramsay in Hell's Kitchen. The stage is all about bringing the design to life through careful choices in color, texture, and quality. Each piece of glass contributes to the overall appearance and feel. When selecting the glass, we start by focusing on color. The colors need to align perfectly with the design's intentions. Since we do all the hard work of blending the new stained glass windows with the original in the design, we stay consistent with the glass selections. The green glass with the painted pattern was used to blend with the existing window's painted border. The overall format is also kept similar as for the multicolored amber borders and blue background. Different types of glass can dramatically impact the window's overall appearance and feel. For instance, hand-blown glass offers unique variations in color and texture. Will it be worth the investment, or is there a way to achieve a similar or even better effect without blowing the budget? We'll weigh the pros and cons soon. The hand-blown glass is significantly more costly than the more common and budget-friendly machine-rolled. The machine-rolled glass provides more uniformity and consistency across its texture and thickness. So is the hand-blown glass worth the extra cost? Most of the time I would say no. Unless there are other windows that exist within the space using hand-blown glass, then there's mostly really not a large argument for using it unless there is a budget that will allow for it. Natural light is one of the most critical factors in glass selection. The way light interacts with the glass will determine the overall brightness and visibility through the stained glass. More texture will diffuse the light and reduce the visibility. Plain clear glass is used for the faces and hands because it is the most consistent for painted details. The variations in textured glass can ruin a piece before the paint is even applied. We've got all our glass selected, it's time to move on. The glass cutting process begins by laying out the glass over a paper pattern that represents the design. The artist scores the glass along the desired lines before gently breaking it with the right amount of pressure, ensuring clean and accurate cuts without cracking or breaking the glass. I like to think about it like cracking an egg. Too soft and nothing happens, but too hard and you've got a scrambled mess. At this stage, it's common to make small tweaks to ensure everything lines up correctly using a glass grinder. So yes, there's a little room for, we'll call it artistic correction. Cutting clear and opaque glass requires different approaches. When working with clear glass, we can place the glass directly over the pattern and cut it with ease since we can see through it. In contrast, opaque glass is not transparent, so the artist must first cut a copy of the pattern separately and then use it as a template to trace onto the glass. Another important factor in glass cutting is the glass grain. This is the directional texture present on the surface of the glass. While the grain typically influences how the glass is cut, in this particular window project, all textured glass was random. This means the direction of the grain was irrelevant, allowing for greater flexibility in the cutting process. With all of our glass cut, we are ready to proceed to the next stage. One wrong move at this stage and we could shatter hours of work, so it begs the question, will we get it right? The painting process is incredibly intricate, with each element being added in layers. For designs with figures, every stroke matters, from creating realistic faces to finely detailing the feathers and drapery. One shaky hand in our stained glass window will end up looking like a wingman had a bit of a rough night. The artist must carefully layer paint to create realistic shading, depth, and highlights. Techniques such as stippling or soft shading are used to add dimension to the figures, helping them appear more lifelike. In the case of the wingman, this involves adding subtle details to the feathers and facial features, giving the figure a three-dimensional quality. Once each layer is ready, the next step is firing the glass in a kiln to permanently set the paint. The firing process is key to ensuring the artwork's longevity. When fired, the paint fuses with the surface of the glass. Firing is a delicate process. If the temperature isn't carefully managed, bubbling or cracking can occur. To prevent this, we use a scheduled firing process, raising and lowering the temperature gradually to properly anneal the glass. These have to come out just right, or someone's window is going to look a little too well done. Some artists choose to use enamel paints for their brilliant colors, but we avoid them due to their lower durability. Enamel paints are prone to failing over time, which compromises the longevity of the stained glass. Instead, we rely on more durable traditional glass stainers, ensuring that the artwork remains vibrant and resilient for generations to come. With the painted glass done, we are ready for the next stage. So far, no major disasters. Just the way I like it. This is where all the individual glass pieces come together, held securely by strips of lead cane. Lead cane is a soft, flexible material that wraps around the edges of each glass piece, holding everything in place while allowing just enough movement for adjustment. We use a 4% antimony lead as much as possible due to its increased strength. Here I am demonstrating the difference in strength between the pure lead and the alloy. You can tell pretty clearly who's stronger. The assembly process requires several key tools: lead dikes to cut the cane, a lead stretcher to ensure it's straight and sturdy, pliers and nails to hold the pieces in place, and a mallet with a tapping block to gently secure everything. Once everything is positioned, a soldering iron and solder are used to connect and strengthen the joints where the lead strips intersect. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get any footage of the assembly process due to a technical error, which translates to I forgot to hit record. Now, here's a part that I did capture: putty application. Beyond holding the glass in place, the putty acts as a sealant, filling all the voids and adding a good bit of strength. Putty application isn't one-sided. You've got to put it on both the front and the back. Kind of like putting on sunscreen. You don't want to skip a side unless you're really aiming for some regrets later. Reapplying stained glass putty to existing windows is one of the most common restoration tasks for stained glass windows. Over time, the original putty can dry out or crack, allowing moisture and air to seep in, weakening the stained glass. Since these windows will not be exposed to weathering and will be properly ventilated, I expect they'll outlive us. Now, once the putty is cured, we move on to the reinforcement bars. Without these bars, the window could warp over time. What's the key to getting this step just right? Well, this is where things get a little bit medieval. There's an anvil, there's smashing, and somewhere in there you might actually feel a little bit like a blacksmith. These steel bars provide structural support to prevent the window from sagging or warping over time. They're carefully placed across the window to distribute the weight and maintain its integrity, especially in areas where the window spans a wide surface. Without reinforcement, the weight of the glass and lead could cause the window to bow over time. Now that the window is finished, we have to transport it safely in our vehicles. This involves layers of cardboard, styrofoam, and a silent prayer that nothing cracks en route. Weather is a big factor when installing a stained glass window. especially in exterior locations. And we are sure to check the forecast religiously. But seriously, rain or excessive moisture can complicate the process, particularly when sealing the window, and it can damage both the window and the surrounding structure. Now, I didn't get any footage of the installation, technical difficulties again, but I do have footage of the finished product, and honestly, that's what you really came for, right? And here we have it, the final reveal of this fantastic stained glass window. The stained glass window is a timeless representation of the church and the community's faith. If you are looking to have a stained glass window made for your church, check out my stained glass guide. We go over tons of useful information from design principles, common themes, motifs, and much more. Click right here and I'll send you your own free copy. And if you enjoyed this video, I think you'll also enjoy this one where we created the St. John Eagle stained glass. Don't forget to subscribe for more beautiful stained glass window projects. Goodbye!